Hey guys, it's Mary from Always Learning, and I just wanted to pop in and say hey to everybody and talk just for a minute about something that's on my mind. Now, right now, there's a lot of stuff I think on everybody's minds. Are things objectively worse than they've ever been in the history of the world? Of course not, because, it's the history of the world and we're humans and we're kind of, prone to do the same silly things over and over and over again throughout history. I just got out of an American history class that I teach just right now. I love my high schoolers. I love them. But yeah, they're amazing right now. Anyway, we were talking about some of the strikes in history. What was the purpose of the strikes? Somehow the AFL came up, the American Federation of Labor, and so on. And we're talking about skilled workers versus unskilled workers. And that's a big thing, because if you're going to make, say, a labor union, which is what, again, started really in the 1800s and went away for a while, came back later and so on. But if you are going to have a job that you expect good pay, then you have to remember that nobody is irreplaceable, but some people are easier to replace than others. And a lot of people might not want to know that and might not want to hear that, but historically and as humanity, if you have the choice of hiring someone who is highly skilled in a certain area, and they've trained or they have an education for it, or they've studied, they've made whatever progress to where they're knowledgeable about it, that's one thing. But today we're talking about the AFL and the steel workers and how they actually were in a very privileged place for a long time, because man, that was a hard job and a lot of people couldn't do it. Then we see today two industries. We have retail and we have food service. And those are two that really don't pay very well. And you're absolutely incredibly replaceable in those jobs. It's sad, but it is a harsh truth. Tell them the story of a friend of mine when I was working one of my many 36 jobs that I had before I growed up and became a professional. But I had a job at Dairy, among many other things. And there was a friend that I had there who always would threaten, I'm gonna walk out one day. She had been there maybe 2 years or something, and I had been there, I don't know however long I'd been there, months or whatever it was. Anyway, one day she did walk out. And you're the punk if you do that. Okay, I will tell you, you are not hurting the owner of that business. You're hurting the workers that you've left behind, your friends, supposedly. She thought, well, they'll really miss me when I'm gone. They'll really miss me when I'm gone. Truthfully, it was Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen was a fun job for me. I had a lot of great friends. We had a good time there. We made all kinds of weird blizzards, concoctions, and we had a great time, actually. But irreplaceable? No. She walks out one day, and within a week or so, you have already seen her replaced, and the person that replaced her could make the curl on the end of the cone just as purty as she could after 2 years of working at that job. That's called unskilled jobs. Things are the way they are, and there's reasons for that, because if you have leverage, like there's a reason why, for example, even though things like those are very hard jobs physically and mentally, it's easy to replace you just because of the skill set. That's where I always encourage the students. I'm like, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You either can teach yourself, you can go to school, you can learn whatever it is, but you have to make yourself, or put yourself in a position, make yourself into that person that it's harder to replace you. It's very hard to replace a good plumber. It's very hard to replace hopefully a good history professor. It's a lot harder to do that than to replace someone in those industries that are equally valid. Food and retail, valid, hard jobs, deserving of pay, but you don't have a lot of bargaining leverage there. Again, that's a harsh lesson from American history. Just wanted to leave you with that wisdom for the day. I got to go and do other history-like stuff. Bye.